Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jainitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, text number 25. So Savabhadra Karuno Bhagavan Vivriddha. So Savabhadra Karuno Bhagavan Vivriddha. Prema smitena nayanam buruham vijrimbhan. Prema smitena nayanam buruham vijrimbhan. Uthaya vishva vijayaya chano vishadam. Uthaya Vishva Vijayaya Chano Vishadam. Madhya Girapanayatat Purusha Puranaha. Madhya Girapanayatat Purusha Puranaha. So Savabhadra Karuno Bhagavan Vivriddha. Prema smitena nayanam buruham vijrimbhan. Uthaya Vishva Vijayaya Chano Vishadam. Madhya Girapanayatat Purusha Puranaha. So Savabhadra Karuno Bhagavan Vivriddha. Prema smitena nayanam buruham vijrimbhan. Uthaya Vishva Vijayaya Chano Vishadam. Madhya Girapanayatat Purusha Purana. Matajis. So Savabhadra Karuno Bhagavan Vivriddha Prema Smitena Nayanam Burham Vijrimbhan Uttaya Vishva Vijayaya Chano Vishadham Madhyagirapanayat Purusha Purana. Tosavabhadra Karuno Bhagavan Vivriddha Prema Smitena Uttaya Vishva Vijayaya Chano Vishadam Madhyagirapanayata Purusha Purana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is a verse which Vaikanath Prabhu just reminded me that before we wake up Krishna in the morning, before we wake up Radha Krishna in the morning, this is the verse that the Pujari chants before he enters the altar. So Prabhu told me that before he wakes up his deities at home every day, he chants this verse as well. So translation is, the Lord who is supreme and is the oldest of all is unlimitedly merciful. I wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me by opening his lotus eyes. So Krishna is waking up. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. Purport: the Lord is ever increasingly merciful upon the fallen souls of this mature world. The whole cosmic manifestation is a chance for all to improve themselves in devotional service to the Lord. And everyone is meant for that purpose. The Lord expands himself into many personalities who are either self-expansions or separated expansions. The personalities of the individual souls are his separated expansions, whereas the self-expansions are the Lord himself. The self-expansions are predominators, and the separated expansions are predominated for reciprocation of transcendental bliss with the supreme form of bliss and knowledge. The liberated souls can join in this blissful reciprocation of predominator and predominated without materially concocted ideas. The typical example of such a transcendental exchange between the predominator and the predominated is the Lord's Rasa Lila with the gopis. The gopis are predominated expansions of the internal potency, and therefore the Lord's participation in the Rasa Lila dance is never to be considered like the mundane relationship of man and woman. It is rather the highest perfectional stage of the exchange of feelings between the Lord and the living entities. The Lord gives the fallen souls the chance for this highest perfection of life. Lord Brahma is entrusted with the management of the complete cosmic show, and therefore he prays that the Lord bestow his blessings upon him so that he may execute its purpose. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for coming to Sunday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's good to see a full house after months of just giving class to one or two brahmacharis sitting in front. Okay, so this is the last of Lord Brahma's prayers in this chapter to Lord Krishna. And Brahma is praying to Lord Krishna to empower him with intelligence, directed intelligence of how to go about performing his duty of creating this, not creating, but engineering this material world. And he's realizing that his service that he's going to do is actually that. It's a devotional service. It's not just some mundane activity. Mundane activities, they leave behind residues. Like, the example can be given of like an angry young boy. This is a story of the angry young boy, and he was following in the footsteps of his acharyas like Dennis the Menace, Bart Simpson, and all these young boys who create trouble. So every time he did something, he would get so angry, and then his father said to him, there must be some way in which he can be relieved of his anger. So his father told him that each time you get angry, what you do is you get a nail and you get a hammer, and you exert or transpose that anger by hitting the nail into the fence. So each time he got angry, that's what he did. He got the nail from the jar, he got the hammer, and then he whacked that nail into the fence. And his anger subsided for that period of time. So after doing this for many, many months, he had hammered hundreds of nails. Finally, he came to his senses that, I shouldn't be angry. So then his father said that, okay, so then you can take out all the nails from the fence. So then he got the hammer, he took the other side of the hammer, and he took the nails out of the fence. And it took him a long time to do that. And then he was walking away from the fence, very nicely, very happy, very contented. But then his father said, look behind at the fence. And when he looked behind at the fence, he saw that the fence had hundreds and hundreds of holes inside. It was not a very nice sight. So we can see from this example that material activities, they leave behind this residue. Just as the nails, because of the anger that he had, left behind these holes in the fence. But spiritual activities are not like that. Spiritual activities are anandam buddhivardhanam. They satisfy the soul at the very, very beginning, and as you progress, that satisfaction increases exponentially and unlimitedly. It's explained that in the spiritual world, everyone is perfect. There's only gradations within perfection. In the spiritual world, there's duality. There's good, there's bad. There's happiness, there's distress. In the spiritual world, there's only happiness. Still within happiness, there are gradations. There's happiness, more happiness, most happiness, and like that it continues. So I wanted to focus on apparent contradictions in understanding Krishna, in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because this can mislead us a little bit in trying to get closer to Krishna, regardless of which religious faith you follow. For example, here Lord Brahma is praying, the Lord who is supreme and the oldest of all. So generally, when we think that someone is old, then we think, like people have that conception of God having a white beard and sitting on some throne, and you can never see his face, and he has a thunderbolt, and his business is just to chastise us who are trying to enjoy. So, Brahma Samhita says, Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cham. Right? That itself is a contradiction. Krishna is the oldest of the old. At the same time, he's an ever-fresh youth. I want to bring your attention to this book, Sri Ishopanishad. It's a book which we don't quote from too often. I think there was a story which I heard. I haven't read it myself, but I heard from a devotee that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, he was giving a series of classes at Radhakund, which is like the topmost destination for bhakti yogis. And all these people, they gathered to attend these classes because they thought that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was going to talk about some really intimate pastimes of Radha Krishna. So they came very eager to hear this. And then he started to lecture from Sri Ishopanishad. And he did that day after day after day, for I don't know how long, maybe weeks or something like that. So it shows us that if we're pure devotees of Krishna, we can appreciate him in any form, in any way. So there's two mantras which I want to read, which talk about the apparent contradictions of Krishna. Anejad ekam manaso javiyo naina devapnuam purvam arshad tad dhavato anyad atyetitishtat tasmin apo matarishva dadati. Although Krishna is fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind. Now we know the speed of the mind. Prabhupada says speed of the mind means in your mind you think, I'm there, like the moon, then you're actually there. The yogis can do this. We may not be able to do this. But the yogis can travel at that speed. So although Krishna is fixed in his transcendental abode, still, although he's in one place, he can travel faster than the mind. Apparent contradiction. Powerful demigods. Demigods are powerful, but still they can't approach him. We see that in Srimad Bhagavatam, when the demigods wanted to bring Krishna, invite Krishna into the material world because the world was being overburdened by kings, demoniac kings. Then only Brahma was given the qualification to see Krishna within his heart. No other demigods could see. So if Krishna wants us to see him, Krishna allows us to see him. Otherwise, even powerful demigods cannot see Krishna. Although in one place, he controls those who supply air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. The next verse makes these contradictions a bit more apparent. Tad ejati tad nejati tad dure tad tvantike tad antarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bhayata. The Supreme Lord walks and doesn't walk. So what are we supposed to make from that? So is he a person or is he not a person? And we can understand that Krishna as a person, he walks. But Krishna is also non-different from his energy, Brahman. Brahman does not have legs or hands or eyes. Brahman is energy. But it exists because Krishna exists. Therefore, it is non-different from him. Just like the sunshine is non-different from the sun, because its existence depends on the sun. He is far away, but he is very near as well. Can you appreciate that? Krishna is far away. Why? Because he's present in his abode, Golok Vrindavan. But at the same time, he's very close to you because he's inside your heart right now. In fact, he's the closest person to your soul. We may think that someone we're in relationship with, our friends, our husbands or wives, they're very close to us. But their body is close to our body. But Krishna, his soul, who is Krishna himself, is close to us, the soul. So soul to soul, Krishna is the closest person, although he's present far away in the spiritual world. Krishna is present within everything, and yet Krishna is outside of everything. Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastam. Krishna is present within every atom, and at the same time Krishna is present outside of his creation. I know it's a little bit philosophical, but we need to understand philosophy in order to appreciate the Leela of Krishna. So these two things go together, Tattva and Leela. So yesterday we went to Gosford. Last night we went to Gosford, all the way to Gosford, to install a Srimad Bhagavatam set at someone's house. So before I started talking about the Damodar Leela, I told them that for you to appreciate baby Krishna running in fear from his mother, first you have to understand who Krishna is. If you think Krishna is just an ordinary baby, then it would not be so significant to see a baby running away from his mother being chased by a stick. But if you understand that Krishna is a person that even death personified is afraid of Krishna. And then such a person is afraid of his mother. Then you can appreciate Krishna. So tattva, philosophy, is essential, it's important, as much as you can understand it, to be able to understand Krishna, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's leelas. So let's talk about two contradictions I want to focus on. The first contradiction is that God does not have a form, right? And Srila Prabhupada, we glorify Srila Prabhupada as Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarnya. Srila Prabhupada has come to destroy and annihilate this conception that God is either non-existent or God doesn't have any form. But we understand that God's form is there, but it's not material, it's spiritual. God's form is unlimited, our form is limited. How is God's form unlimited? Well, one way is that Krishna is a person, but even though he's a person, he possesses unlimited qualities. He possesses unlimited beauty, unlimited wealth, unlimited knowledge, strength, fame, renunciation. We are limited, and therefore we possess these qualities with limitations. So that's an example of how Krishna is a person, but he's unlimited. Another example of how Krishna is unlimited, though he's a person, is given in the invocation of Ishopanishad. Does anyone know the invocation? Yes, Madhuri, please recite. No? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Uduchyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Evavashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped with complete wholes. This is the important point now. Whatever is produced from Krishna is complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. If I go to Red Cross or something, and I donate some blood, then I've lost that amount of blood from my body. Right? But Krishna is not like that. If we as souls come from Krishna, thousands and unlimited souls are coming from Krishna, all this material energy is coming from Krishna, Krishna is not depleted in the least. So that's another way how Krishna is an unlimited person. A third way in how Krishna is an unlimited person, because when we think of persons, we think of limitations. If I'm in this room right now, I'm not outside. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna, the person, one person, the complete whole, expands himself unlimitedly into the hearts of each living entities. So that's another way how Krishna is a person, at the same time he's unlimited. So that's one contradiction. That God does not have form, God does have form. The second contradiction is that God cannot come to this material world. If God came to this material world, then his majesty would be compromised. Let's take the example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, yet he had taken sannyas. He was in Vrindavan, he was at the Radha Damodar temple, he was associating with the Brajabasis, he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam, intensely praying, pure devotee in the pure spiritual world. Then Srila Prabhupada left Vrindavan on the order of his spiritual master. And where did he come? To Boston Harbor. And then he came to New York City, to the pit, right? Which is the Bowery, right? Where Prabhupada's disciples explain. The Bowery was a place where the drug addicts were there, and people were literally committing suicide there because of such a really bad condition of life there. Now, was Srila Prabhupada's majesty compromised by him coming to such a degraded place? No? You're saying no? Okay. Maybe it was that others' perception of Srila Prabhupada wasn't on the level of majesty. other people who were there, like the hippies and stuff who were there, they could not appreciate Srila Prabhupada for who he was. But that in no way affected Srila Prabhupada's majesty intrinsically. I'll explain. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. The sun gives sunshine. That sunshine shines on a beautiful field with many flowers, lush grass, right? Now that same sunshine also shines on really degraded things, like let's say sewage, water, or Prabhupada says stool even. Now if the sun shines on stool, does that affect the sun in any way? Yes, okay. No, you're saying. Yes, that's true. In fact, it purifies the stool. Guta pore gobar hase. There's a Bengali proverb. Maybe you know, right? That the wet cow dung is laughing at the dry cow dung, saying, you're going to be burnt very soon. Right? Guta pore gobar hase. So it doesn't know, the wet cow dung doesn't know that in due course of time it will also dry up and it will also be burnt. But who dries up the cow dung? The sun. And the sun is not affected in any way. Srila Prabhupada gives another example to illustrate the same point. The example of the king going into the prison house. A prison house is necessary because there's always a certain number of people in society who don't want to follow the rules. They're put into the prison. Now some people think that if the king enters the prison, the king would also become one of the prisoners. That is their logic in saying that God can't come to the material world. But it doesn't make sense, because the king goes to the prison. The king can go to the prison, but when he enters the prison, he is unaffected and unbounded by any of the rules of the prisoners. In fact, it is out of the compassion of the king that he goes to the prison and gives his association to the prisoners. Maybe you might tell him, you may be here in the prison, but I still care about you. I'm still maintaining the prison. I'm still feeding you. Like that. But the king is unaffected. So these are two contradictions. Krishna can come into his material world, but he remains unaffected, unbounded. Krishna retains his spiritual body. Let's read on with the purport. This word is used a lot of times in this purport. Expansions. Prabhupada is talking about self-expansions and separated expansions. So what is this self-expansions and separated expansions? We just explained that everything is coming from Krishna, right? Mataji was telling us the first invocation from Sri Ishopanishad. Complete wholes are coming from Krishna. Everything, all energies, parasya shakti vivide vishuddhi, are coming from Krishna. But they are categorized. Self-expansions means expansions which are Krishna himself. Separated expansions means the energy of Krishna, like you and I. We are souls. We are not Krishna, but we are Krishna's energy. Self-expansions refers to Krishna's avatars, like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Lord Nrsimhadev. They are Krishna. They are his self. That's why they're called self-expansions. But we are separated expansions. We are Krishna's energy. Now let me explain. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 1, I think it's texts 30 to 40, somewhere there. You can have a look. But there's 3 verses there that Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami talks about. How Krishna separates and expands himself to enjoy. Right? We know that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. How does Krishna enjoy? Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatar Prakash Krishna Echaya Rupa Karena Vilas. Krishna comes as himself, Krishna, Guru, Bhakta, Shakti, Avatar, and Prakash. Prakash means an expansion. Avatar means an incarnation. And then Srila Prabhupada explains in the purports, I think a couple of verses later, Srila Prabhupada explains what these categories are, specifically in relation to the Panchatattva. So Krishna is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And then you have Guru, we know. So Guru is like practically they're all Gurus. Guru Tattva. And then Bhakta, he says, is Srivas Thakur. Shakti is Gadadhar Pandit, who is Radharani, expansion of Radharani. And he also says Jagadananda Pandit as well, who is an expansion of Satyabhama. So these are the queens of Krishna, expansions. Shakti. Avatar is, who is the avatar in the Panchatattva? Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya is the avatar. Mahavishnu is Advaitacharya. And Prakash is, Prakash means different from Krishna, but at the same time non-different from Krishna. Prabhupada uses this word plenary. Have you come across this word, plenary? Prabhupada uses plenary portions. Does anyone know what that word plenary means? I decided to look it up. Plenary means separate from Krishna, but still invested with the same amount of energy. That's the difference between a plenary portion and an avatar. Avatar means coming from Krishna, but they have less energy than Krishna. But plenary means they come from Krishna, but they have the same energy, the same potency of Krishna, although they may not exhibit it. And Prabhupada says an example of that is Balaram, an example of that is Lord Nityananda. They're Krishna himself, they have the same potency, same energy of Krishna, but they choose to act as Krishna's servant. That is plenary. Now, the energy, Shakti, and the Bhakta, right? We said 6 things: Krishna, Guru, Bhakta, Shakti, Avatar, Prakash. So the Shakti and the Bhakta, the energy of Krishna and the devotee of Krishna, they fall into the category of separated expansions. And everything else, even Guru Tattva, even though Guru is a separated expansion like a Jiva. Guru is Jiva. But still Srila Prabhupada says that Guru, he acts as the predominator to teach us how we should be serving Krishna. Does it make sense? So Srila Prabhupada is saying here, specifically he's giving the example of Raslila. Srila Prabhupada is saying that this Raslila is an interaction between the predominator and the predominated. And Srila Prabhupada is saying that who is predominated is the gopis, or Krishna's devotees. But they're the same thing in one sense, because Krishna expands as the predominator and the predominated. Why is it that the devotees are non-different from Krishna? They're different from Krishna, but at the same time the devotees are non-different from Krishna. That is because the devotees are the same in desire with Krishna. We have the same desire as Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, surrender to me, don't fear, I'll take care of everything. The devotees are also going out to the streets everywhere, and they're also telling people, surrender to Krishna as well. In fact, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he comes, he says the same things, Yaradeko, Tareko, Krishna Upadesh, surrender to Krishna as well. So we're the same as Krishna in the sense that we have the same desire as Krishna. Therefore, even in Abrahamic literature, it's mentioned that I and the God are one. It doesn't mean that the Guru is God, but the Guru is God in the sense that the Guru has the same mission. Prabhupada has the same mission as Krishna. Now let's talk about pure devotional service. Sorry, that was a little technical. Everyone knows Rupa Goswami? Now, everyone knows Nectar of Devotion? Yeah, which is the summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Now, does everyone know what a Paribhashya Sutra is? Paribhashya Sutra means that verse which summarizes everything within a particular book. So in Nectar of Devotion, the Paribhashya Sutra that Rupa Goswami says is this. He says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttamam. Perhaps you've heard of this verse. Pure devotional service is defined as being free from any ulterior desire other than to please Krishna. It's also free from karma, jnana, yoga. But let's focus on these 3 aspects. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Anukul we say Anukul Pratikul. Anukul means that which is pleasing to Krishna. Krishna means it must be done for Krishna exclusively. And Anushilanam means it has to be constantly done for Krishna, not intermittently. It's said that the residents of Vrindavan, they never lose focus of Krishna even for 1/11th of a second. That is the degree of their Krishna consciousness. 1/11th of a second. So that is what we're practicing to do. Prabhupada says we should be Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. We should chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 24 hours a day. So what we're doing is we're training our mind to be conscious of Krishna to that degree. Because there's only two things you can be conscious of. You can only be conscious of Krishna, or you can be conscious of Maya. Just like your mind can only think of one thing at a particular time. Your mind cannot think simultaneously of two different things at the same time. Your mind can only think of one thought at one particular time. Because your mind can only think of one thing at any one time, you can only think of Krishna, or you can only think of Maya. So Krishna consciousness means to use our free will to always choose Krishna. And my Guru Maharaj explains that's like weight training. You have to train, when you're weight training, you have to train your muscle, right? So our mind is also like a muscle. It has to be trained in that way. It's going to go around like a monkey here and there. But the yogi, Krishna says in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the duty of the yogi is to catch the mind from wherever it wanders and bring it back to the focus of attention, which is Krishna. Now, let's focus on this word anukul. Anukul means devotional service has to be anukul, means it has to be pleasing to Krishna. I'm going to give two examples. Mother Yashoda, like we're in Damodar Mas right now, and the Leela which we're celebrating is Mother Yashoda tying up baby Krishna. Right? So we have the deity of Yashoda Damodar on the altar. We see the separated expansion, Mother Yashoda, in Prabhupada's use of words today, tying up the self, the Supreme Self, Lord Krishna, with ropes. Now, before Mother Yashoda tied up Krishna, what happened earlier on in the Leela? Mother Yashoda was churning butter, and then she was also boiling some milk on the stove. And then baby Krishna started to cry because he wanted some milk. He wanted his mother to nurse him. So Mother Yashoda stops churning the butter, picks up baby Krishna, starts to nurse him. Then Mother Yashoda sees on the stove the milk is overflowing, about to overflow because of the heat. The heat needs to be turned down. That milk on the stove is not for her, it's for Krishna as well. So she's caught in a dilemma. I'm pleasing Krishna by nursing him. At the same time, I have milk on the stove. That's also for Krishna. So what do? Do I put Krishna down and attend to that milk which is on the stove for Krishna? Or do I let it overflow and keep nursing Krishna? So she's in that dilemma. So she decides to put baby Krishna down and go and attend to that milk. And what does Krishna do? Krishna becomes angry and mischievous. And he runs with Balaram into his house and he starts to break the pots of yogurt and butter, shares it with the monkeys. Right? And then Mother Yashoda picks up the stick and starts chasing him like that. That's how the story continues. But it seems that Mother Yashoda displeased Krishna. Right? She was performing service for Krishna, but her service displeased Krishna, and that's why Krishna started to cry. That's why Krishna got angry at his mother. But how can Krishna get angry at Mother Yashoda, who is his pure devotee? It seems that Mother Yashoda, her bhakti at that instance, was not anukul, was not pleasing to Krishna. In fact, it was pratikul. It seems like that. So that's one analogy. We'll come back to this. Now let's look at another scenario. Kamsa's wrestling arena. Kamsa creates this big, what is it called? Fate, like a, fate. Big fate.
And he invites all the residents of Mathura and he invites all the residents of Vrindavan to come and see the great entertainment which is there. So he gets the elephant, Kuvalayapid, because he wants to kill Krishna. That's his underlying motive, to try to trample Krishna. But we know what Krishna does. He goes under the feet of the elephant and goes around the elephant, and anyway, he kills the elephant. And then he comes to the wrestling arena, and everyone is there. It's like a gladiator arena. Literally, it's a gladiator arena, because either Kamsa wants the wrestlers to kill Krishna, or Krishna has to kill the wrestlers. So someone has to die in Kamsa's gladiator ring that he's created. So what happens is, the wrestlers, Chanura, Mushtika are there, and then Shala, Toshala, they're there as well. And Balaram and Krishna, it's explained that their bodies are like soft as butter. And these wrestlers are gigantic. And they're pounding Krishna's body with their fists, strangling him, wrestling with him, even though he's so soft. I just want to say this one thing, because I like to say it. It's explained that Krishna's body is so soft that if you take a little baby leaf and you just touch Krishna's skin, Krishna will get a bruise on that part of his skin. That's how soft Krishna's skin is. So you can just imagine when Chanura and Mushtika are punching Krishna. But when they were punching Krishna, Krishna was pleased. Krishna wanted to experience that virya ras, the ras of fighting. So here it seems that Chanura and Mushtika, these wrestlers of Kamsa, when they're with great violence punching Krishna, it seems that their relation towards Krishna is anukul, it's favorable, even though they want to kill Krishna. And Krishna is pleased. But on the other hand, we see Mother Yashoda, she's trying to nurse Krishna with great love and affection, and it seems that Krishna is becoming displeased. So it seems that Mother Yashoda, her bhakti was pratikul, but Chanura and Mushtika, who wanted to kill Krishna, their bhakti was anukul, was favorable. So the acharyas explain this contradiction. They explain that the word anukul does not mean that which is pleasing to Krishna. Rather, the word anukul means with the intent to please Krishna. Mother Yashoda, when she put baby Krishna down and Krishna was angry, what was her intention? Was her intention to please Krishna or displease Krishna? Yes. So even though Krishna was displeased, her bhakti was still anukul, because her desire was still to please Krishna, the intent to please Krishna. Now let's look at Chanura and Mushtika. What was their intent? Was it to please Krishna? It was not. Even though Krishna was pleased fighting with them, their intention was not to please Krishna, their intention was to kill Krishna. So therefore, in fact, their bhakti was, bhakti again I say, their interaction with Krishna was pratikul, unfavorable. So this word has to be understood properly. When we say anukul yena Krishna anushilanam, that anukul means our intent has to be to please Krishna. Krishna may or may not be pleased. Just like Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying at the end of the Shikshashtakam, we read every day, Krishna, you may appear before me or not appear before me. So it seems that if Krishna is not appearing before us, Krishna is displeased with us. But that's not a fact. Our intent in approaching Radha Gopinath should be to please them. Krishna will do as he likes. Krishna is fully independent. But here it's saying, Lord Brahma is saying, Krishna is unlimitedly merciful. Therefore, if we try our little bit to come towards Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate with us and come to us. So that's one point I wanted to explain in relation to these two Krishna Leelas about Anukul. Now I want to finish by explaining a meditation that we can all do. So something practical that we can all do. Because along with getting the mercy from Krishna, Lord Brahma has this immense knowledge, he's done so much tapasya. Now he understands that his act of creation is not just an ordinary act, it's actually devotional service. So here's the difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Material knowledge can make us proud. Do we have experience of that? I do. Material knowledge can make us proud. I am such and such, I hold this position, I have so many degrees. It makes us proud. But spiritual knowledge makes us humble. The more material knowledge we get, the more proud we become. The more spiritual knowledge we have, the more humble we become. So there's two, contradictory effects which are seen there. So Lord Brahma is now exhibiting humility. And in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is in chapter 11 of the 12th canto, a very nice meditation is recommended. And I'll read that meditation to you. And then we can try to apply this meditation so that we can also develop the quality of humility. Because Krishna is attracted by such a quality. Krishna is not attracted by pride. Krishna is attracted by humility. As he says, Trinadapi sunichana taroriva sahishnuna. We can only continuously practice Krishna consciousness if we're tolerant and if we consider ourselves humble, more humble than a blade of grass. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recommends that we become humble by practicing the following meditation. The earth, the planet in which we're living, which is always visible to me, is the expansion of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always to be meditated upon. So you know the Virat Rupa? We all know about the Virat Rupa. So one of the meditations that yogis do as part of their Kriya Yoga system is that they see the different aspects of this mature world to be different attributes of Krishna. For example, the rivers that are flowing throughout this earth, they are the veins and the arteries of Krishna. The sun and the moon, this is the eyes of Krishna. The trees are the hair. Like that, we can see the material world and meditate on Krishna. So, the surface of this earth is compared to the feet of Krishna. So it's explained, the earth which is always visible to me is the expansion of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is always to be meditated upon. All moving and non-moving living entities have taken shelter of that earth and are thus sheltered at the lotus feet of my Lord. It's very nice, right? So if we see the earth as the lotus feet of Krishna, we see all living entities. Even those living entities who are inimical, envious towards us, they're angry, still they're living on earth, the surface of the earth. And this earth is a representation of the souls of the lotus feet of Krishna. Because they have taken shelter of the earth, which is the feet of Krishna, they are to be respected. They're still taking shelter of Krishna. All moving and non-moving living beings have taken shelter of the earth and are thus sheltered at the lotus feet of my Lord. For this reason, I should respect every living being and not envy anyone. In fact, all living entities constitute the Kaustuba gem on my Lord's chest. Therefore, I should never envy or deride any living entity. By practicing this meditation, one can achieve success in life. So just that second point, the Kaustuba gem. So Krishna wears a Kaustuba, Lord Vishnu, he wears a Kaustuba gem. If you read earlier on in this chapter, it's explained that this Kaustuba gem is the sitting place of all the jivas. So therefore, in this meditation, as part of this meditation, it's explained that, in fact, all living entities constitute the Kaustuba gem. That means all living entities are representations of the Kaustuba gem, the Kaustuba mani, and Krishna is wearing that. Krishna is wearing on his transcendental body all the jivas. So if Krishna is wearing all the jivas on his transcendental body, we should respect them all. Therefore, I should never envy or deride any living entity. By practicing this meditation, one can achieve success in life. We'll finish here. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu. It's the Guru. It's not inevitable that the Guru that the disciple will displease the spiritual master. Again, as I explained, that the intention matters. So the disciple, if he misunderstands the instructions of the Guru, his intention is still to please the Guru. So even if he or she falls short of executing the order of the spiritual master may apparently be displeased. But the spiritual master, being mature in Krishna consciousness, understands that my disciple, even if the disciple is failing, my disciple is still trying to execute my instruction, which is also Krishna's instruction. Just try to imagine. We, in front of Krishna,